Yo, what's up? D Prime 215 here. So last night we had WWE's Money in the Bank 2020 pay-per-view. I did my prediction on the men's ladder match. However, both the men's and women's respective Money in the Bank ladder matches actually took place simultaneously. The first time this has ever been done. And the way that they happened was pretty interesting as well. So, the coronavirus pandemic, has really changed how a lot of things take place. And they did like Money in the Bank was in two locations. The main card took place in the Performance Center in Florida, and then the Money in the Bank ladder matches took place at the headquarters in Stamford, Connecticut. So the idea of climbing the corporate ladder, right? I heard of this leading up to the pay-per-view. I always thought it was figurative. However, they were quite literal. I remember seeing images of the rings and the ladders on the top of the building. So I was like, all right, they'll just wrestle on top of the building, one match after the other. Nah, they went simultaneously. But the climbing the corporate ladder was literal because they actually climbed the building, from the inside. You had the women, they started out in the lobby, and the men started out in a gym somewhere in the building. So that was pretty interesting there. So I'll give you my take on the match as a whole. First things first, the women starting out in the lobby. It was dope. You know why? Because Asuka just, everyone else shows up first. Everyone's like, where Asuka at? Asuka's like up here. She's on like a little balcony or whatever, a little ledge above the elevators. Cross body block, take everybody out. I'm like, all right, cool. That's a cool little intro. And then shortly thereafter, she finds her way into the elevator, and she is dancing wildly, if you want to call it dancing. I don't know exactly what type of movement that is called, but she was very enthusiastic. I don't know what she says most of the time, but she's very passionate about it. So I feel her passion. So shout out to Asuka. Just some crazy spots about that match as a whole. The men starting out in the gym, right? The whole roll call, the way everyone just kind of came out was just pretty funny to me. I think, the match as a whole, like as a match, it wasn't really that great in regards to wrestling, right? Because it's Money in the Bank, it's a ladder match, it's a professional wrestling match. I want to see a wrestling match. This is more in vein of like, it felt like I was watching, a cross between Jerry Springer and World Star. So I was thoroughly entertained. Side note, I would like to see Toru Yano perform in a situation like this. That's a whole other side. But anyway, back to the match as a whole. Some spots that stood out to me. I loved when Otis trapped AJ under a weight and ran away, and Rey Mysterio looks at him and just continues on about his way, and AJ's asking for help. I thought that was pretty funny. Baron Corbin, he threw a weight at, I forget if it was Aleister or Daniel Bryan. It might have been Bray, but anyway, he threw a weight and the opponent dodged it. It broke the glass mirror, and he just stood there in awe, just utterly shocked. I'm like, okay, that's pretty interesting. Also, the women. There was one spot where Dana Brooke, it was like they were in a boardroom. It was Dana, Nia Jax, and Carmella. They were in the boardroom, and there's like a briefcase hanging in that particular boardroom or conference room, if you will. And Dana Brooke takes that down, and I'm like, well, I know that's not the finish to the match because there's no ladder involved here. And they kind of pieced together a part of Stephanie McMahon talking. She obviously wasn't there, but the way they pieced that together I thought was cool. And Dana Brooke's like realization, her character realization that she didn't win the match, that was pretty funny. I love the spot of when the janitor, he was cleaning the floor and like looked like a kitchen area, and the women were, running. And he did have the wet floor sign, whatever. He's mopping and whatnot. Dana Brooke, disregards the sign. Everyone else disregarded the sign, but she happened to be the one who lost her balance and fell. That was pretty humorous there. What else? I love seeing like these spots might not be in chronological order, but I love the spot of when AJ he was looking for Rey Mysterio, and he sees like images of the Undertaker is like a huge poster of the Undertaker, and Aleister Black runs up on him, kicks him into the room, and AJ screams for help. I guess, you know, in that moment of time, in that PTSD moment after being buried alive, Mr. Styles forgot how to operate a door, you know, by turning the handle to get himself out. But it seemed like he figured that out at some point in time. What else stood out to me? I love the food fight portion, right? Because not so much the food fight itself, but how it happened. You know, Paul Heyman, they had a lot of really weird cameos there, like Brother Love and all that, and it was crazy. But anyway, Paul Heyman was in just like an open area, enjoying, you know, some food as we all do, and both the men and the women showed up. Again, their matches are happening simultaneously. So you have the men, the women. Otis is bugging out because, I don't know, he ain't had that much self-control during the course of the match, and he violates Paul Heyman, and then it turns into a full-blown food fight, culminating in some intergender moves. I believe Shayna Baszler, she threw was it Rey Mysterio in a sleeper hold? That was crazy. And Nia Jax incapacitated Carmella permanently with the powerbomb through a table. That was unfortunate. You know, I wish Carmella lasted a bit longer, but at least she was the best dressed of the night. Now, also another spot that really stood out to me was the fight between Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles. They were rumbling with each other, and they actually rumbled their way into Vince McMahon's office. And their demeanor in the office was just hilarious to me. I love when, you know, Vince is just looking at them, and like they both kind of stopped fighting. Like it was like they got caught, like, you know, they got called into the principal's office. That's how they were acting, you know. And AJ told Daniel Bryan to put the chairs back, and then afterwards they're like, you know, AJ's like, hey, you were acting shook in there, and Daniel Bryan's like, you just told me to put the chairs back, and then AJ's like, yeah, they go back to fighting. But that one particular scene was pretty interesting as well, because to see AJ and Daniel Bryan and, you know, Vince in a scene together, especially in his office, is just something that, you know, a decade ago, I don't think any of us would have imagined. So the fact that happened was crazy. So let's fast forward to the culmination of this. They finally make their way up to the roof, and the ladder match is commenced. So first the women get there, they rumble, they do what they do. Asuka winds up winning. That's cool. I felt like Asuka winning made the most sense. If it wasn't going to be Asuka, I would have liked for not Carmella. I like Carmella, but not this one. But I think Shayna Baszler or Lacey Evans would have been good picks as well. But Asuka won. Cool. Props for her, right? Then the men follow up afterwards. This is where the Mortal Kombat stage fatalities took place. Baron Corbin, you know, he got a double kill. He threw Rey Mysterio and Aleister Black off the roof. I was like, this is Mortal Kombat 3 all over again. That was pretty cool, pretty interesting. Now, let's kind of fast forward to the meat of this, right? Who won the Money in the Bank men's match? Right now, I made my prediction. I said AJ Styles. I felt like he would win the most. If not AJ, Aleister Black. But I was, you know, pushing heavily for AJ to win. Also, it seemed like a lot of people were expecting for AJ to win. The end of the match actually reminded me of another match AJ was in over a decade ago, right? So AJ and Baron Corbin, they're tussling for the briefcase at the end. And, you know, Elias comes out, he hits Corbin in the back with a guitar. And AJ looks like he has the briefcase for a very, like, maybe like a millisecond. He has the briefcase in his hands, and he fumbles it, drops it, gives it to Otis, right? Otis catches it, right? Then Otis is the official winner. That ending actually reminded me slightly of an Ultimate X match that AJ was a part of. I forget what year it was. I think it was 2005. It was AJ, Ron Killings, Christopher Daniels, and I believe Elix Skipper. And in that match, AJ actually took down the X but the referee was incapacitated. Daniels takes AJ out. He holds the X up. He wins the match, even though AJ technically had it first. Slightly different circumstances just made me think of that. Now with Otis winning, I think Otis, like I said in my prediction, I said Otis would most likely play a very entertaining, important part of the match. I did not in a million years foresee him winning this match, but he did. So what are the next steps? A rumor, what I heard on Wrestle Talk, we'll see what happens, but it seems like the possibility is that, Otis may use that briefcase to challenge for the tag team championships, which is revolutionary, but at the same time, why in the world was he in that match? If that is what he decides to do, other than challenge, either Braun Strowman or Drew McIntyre, the Universal and WWE champions respectively. So I'm a bit shocked. I'm flabbergasted at the fact that Otis won. I really think AJ should have won. What do you guys think? Are you surprised like me? I'm happy Asuka won. I'm not incredibly happy that Otis won because I feel like it should have went to someone else. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you subscribe to me at DPrime215. Did you think the match was great? Were you entertained? Let me know what you think in the comments. I'll see you next time. Peace.